This is it, episode number 504.
Was that your slate?
That was my slate. My hands like go limp or something when I try to clap and make a sound.
I think you're overwhelmed by Frank Conniff's presence.
I am absolutely overwhelmed by Frank Conniff's presence. This is episode 504, the second time Frank Conniff has been on No Laugh Track Podcast. The first with me, Justin Severson, who gets to host this each and every week. That was the voice of J. Elvis Weinstein.
Hi.
Hi.
And I've been on 20 times.
No, not true.
You're the Tony Randall of this podcast.
That's right. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming over here this afternoon.
Great to be here.
And here we go. So last night we got one show down.
We did.
We got the rest of the week to go.
Knocked a little rust off.
Knocked a little rust off. So that's how you describe
Last
it?
night was the tough one. We got through it.
Yes. We both proved to ourselves we can talk for that long.
Thankfully, as always at Acme, a very terrific audience. So they made it easy for us.
Frank, what is your history at Acme? When's the first time you were here? Do you remember?
My first time was way back in the day. I don't remember exactly the first time. It was still
the day. It was just the day.
It was still when Scott Hansen was kind of the comedy czar in town, and
so you were tempting fate by working.
I was. I don't remember the
testing.
circumstances of what made it okay, or I might have been on the outs with Scott anyway at that time.
I mean, yeah.
But so I was able to. So I know I did some like middling or opening here, like in the very early days.
You might have done some middling opening.
Middling opening, exactly. So it goes back to that, and then I've come back through the years, usually to middle. This is like my co-headlining debut at Acme. Lewis actually he offered to headline me, and I'm like, nah, I don't think that's going to be that great. I'd rather do it with Josh, if that's possible.
Oh, so I think that means maybe in the future, do this time, then maybe a year from now we get a Frank Conniff solo week.
Maybe he'll want to hang with me again, huh? Maybe that.
I hope it's with Josh. Is what I hope it becomes a regular event for Josh and I to come here. Event is a big word for that, but you know.
Event. There was a guy that Josh used to do the shows with, and you kicked him to the curb, of course.
Well, I kicked him to Spain.
Chris Bliss, who was on the podcast quite a few times. The last time solo for sort of his farewell tour, I guess.
Yeah,
he is in Spain now.
He is in Spain. He lives in Spain.
He lives in Spain.
Yes, and that's how Chris and I got together. It was the same way, where I was afraid to headline. And I asked Chris if he'd do it with me, and that's how we ended up doing our tag team thing for all those years. But it was born out of the same fear that Frank showed. So, that was like a 12-year run. So
the fear that I bring to all aspects of my life.
That's right. This is his first time out of his burrow.
This is my first post-pandemic appearance among people.
You've been asked, I'm sure, to do 1,000 shows. And yes, just say yes. You've been asked to do 12 shows. You've been asked to do some shows, and you're turning them down.
Everything you just said was an exaggeration. But you know what I do in New York? I do a lot of just like showcase spots at clubs. You know,
oh, okay.
A lot of great places. Like there's a club in Queens called QED, and there's a pizza place in Williamsburg, not to brag, Two Boots Pizza. They have a great comedy night there. And I do stuff like that around town, usually 7-minute, 10-minute sets, you know. So that's why I was a little daunted by the prospect of headlining, because I've been doing comedy over the years, but since I moved to L.A., actually, like that, I kept doing comedy in L.A., but I never really was a club comic again. I never went out. Rarely, a couple of times here, but rarely going out. But I was working as a writer in L.A., and then I would go out at night to the so-called alternative clubs, and it was just fun. So I've always just, although I've made my living sort of as a writer. Stand-up, I've done a lot of it. I've done for fun over the years.
When you were hitting those alternative clubs, who were some of the other people that you would have seen?
I moved to L.A. in like '95, and it was kind of the height of what was called the alternative comedy scene then. So,
but it was really the actual only vital part of the comedy scene then. So.
It was, and just great people. Dana Gould, of course, Dana Gould, who's been doing alternative comedy since the first time he ever got on stage.
Right.
It wasn't anything new for him, but Bob Odenkirk, David Cross. That's where I met Patton Oswalt, Sarah Silverman, Joe Keys. Our friend Joe Keys was part of that, and
Blaine Capatch.
Blaine Capatch,
who I had lunch with last week.
Oh, you did? Yeah, he's a great guy, hilarious, and it was just a really fun scene.
Kindler, by the way, as well. Kindler as well, by the way.
Oh, Kindler, but Kindler is another one that was doing it way before.
Yeah, but he didn't know it. Unlike
I
Dan,
met
he didn't know it. That was just all he could do.
I think I don't know if it was when I met Andy Kindler. I might have met him before, but I think we officially became friends in this room because I came to see him do comedy here at Acme, and I was the only one in the audience laughing.
He remembers it very, very well.
Andy was.
He also got switched from headliner to feature act at that
did.
same week.
Yep.
No.
Maxine Jeffries got switched around, and she headlined, and he was middling, and I was laughing hysterically, the only one in the audience. And then afterwards I went to the green room, and he's like, "Oh, I knew it had to be someone like you. I knew it had to be someone who was in the industry." And, but I think that right here is where our friendship was cemented, was at that show.
Yeah, I just from an outsider perspective, that's what it sounds like happening.
I didn't want to step on, since Andy... a lot of his career is based on eating it all the time.
Right.
So I didn't want to
ruin it for him.
Didn't want to ruin it for him. But, he's just, we were just talking last night about how he's one of the funniest people in the world.
Yeah, I miss him.
Yeah.
I miss him coming to Acme.
I do not miss him at all.
You do not miss him at all.
I talk to him
for the
twice
record.
a week for an hour. I do not miss him at all.
Yeah, I still listen.
Do you?
I know the relationship.
Yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you guys aren't always seeing each other in person.
Well, we just on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's plenty.
It feels the same. Yeah.
It's funny. So, do either of you have the memory of meeting each other?
Not a specific
Not
memory,
specific.
but I'm sure it was at the Ha Ha Club in Uptown Minneapolis in 1987.
So it was pre-Mystery Science Theater, where you were you were doing stand up, and you were doing stand up.
Yeah. And Frank didn't like me. It was always my. I mean, I learned later on that's just his face, but
It's just my face, exactly.
but I felt like he thought I was like this privileged little kid from the suburbs who was coming in and being an interloper when he was like gritty New York guy.
Which part of that do you agree with?
Well, here's the thing: is I think it's interesting to point out that at a time when Josh was 15, I think I was the one being immature, because. And it wasn't Josh. It was just, I had that young guy thing of like just being threatened by everybody and, worrying about someone else's success, overtaking my success, which didn't exist at the time, but still, I had those kind of like inner rivalries in my head when I was younger. I don't really have them anymore. I'm very happy to say. But because my career tanked already, so it doesn't matter. No, I'm
There's
kidding.
no saving it.
But I don't think it was Josh specifically. It was just in general that I was like, I was just an insecure, not mature enough to deal with a 15-year-old.
I see.
That was very nice. Thank you.
That works for you?
I
That
feel
explanation
better.
works for you?
That's a 37-year-old scar. Just healed right over.
And we have it on camera. I love that. I absolutely love that. So much stuff to talk about. So how long did you live in Minnesota, Frank?
I lived from like 10 years, 85 to 95. I moved here in 85, as many people do, for drug rehab. And
all the greats.
Yep, it's a great thing about this. I don't know if it's this big a thing anymore because I've been away for a long time, but a huge recovery community here that was very important for me at the time. And then I moved here, and I'm like, why go back to New York where all the places I got in trouble, all the things this place seems cool. Why not stay here? And I did, and I started doing stand-up first at the Ha Club because it was non-alcoholic, and then eventually,
which is why it was easy for me to start there at 15 too.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
And then I worked up the kind of strength to go to the comedy gallery, which was at JR's at the time, the upstairs room. That was the best comedy gallery of any of the comedy gallery clubs, and I managed. I did an open mic there, and then I started. I became Scott Hansen's toady, which was very. I say that openly because it was very helpful for my career. Scott always had a guy who would like MC and tear tickets and hang out with him.
Get him a Diet Coke occasionally.
Get him, and also I was, we were co-enablers of eating. Him on a much bigger scale than me. But I was always willing to go to Rudolph's or the Market Barbecue.
I knew you were going to say. I knew you were going to say Rudolph's.
And he liked me for that reason too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And hang out and eat a bunch of food and I had conflicts with Scott, but he was a huge help for my career, and may he rest in peace.
Sure, and also that goes without saying. I think everyone that had some sort of conflict at some point.
Yeah. No, I mean I have great gratitude towards him. And in fact, I had fewer problems with him because he was a classic bully, where if you confronted him directly on anything, he would generally back down. So, and I learned that even as a 17-year-old, pretty much. So, but he was very, very good to me. He was terrible to Louis Lee, terrible.
Yeah.
Louis and I went a couple months ago. We went to visit Scott's grave, and I had no idea Louis could dance like that.
You had no idea or what?
I had no idea Louis could dance like that.
We're done now. That one, wow, that can't be topped, Josh. Oh my God. Oh my God, Brandon. Holy shit, that was great. Well done. Well, my God, well done. Oh wow, I got to refocus here. That was fantastic. Oh my God. So we need to talk about all the million things you guys have also done. I Need You to Kill, Josh, is still current. Have you been paying attention to what's going on in China?
Oh, yeah. It's not current. That's the problem.
I guess that's a better way to say it.
We really captured a moment before the Chinese hammer came down on Hong Kong. I mean, it was really, everything changed within a year of when I left, pretty much. I mean, and those protests were starting to form in the central Hong Kong district. Like, even when we were there, we got rerouted out of traffic because of a protest and stuff. So you could feel it starting, but the massive protests and then the massive crackdown all happened after we left. And that kind of freedom that I showed in that movie just doesn't exist anymore.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. I remembered what I was going to ask you, Frank. Last night on stage, you mentioned that you worked at the Uptown Arby's.
I did.
It's gone now. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard it was gone.
The people had before they tore it down, people had a vigil for it.
Yeah,
in the big sign
for it. Just because I guess, and the I think the sign
lighting up potato cakes.
Right. Potato cakes, rest in peace.
Iconic, I guess, and
yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that was when I first moved here, and I was in rehab, and then I was in a halfway house. And then one of the requirements when you were at the halfway house was you had to go out and get a job while you were there. And this is absolutely true. I was turned down by White Castle, but Arby's hired me, and so I ended up working. I actually, right when I started doing stand-up, I was working at even after I got out of the halfway house, I was working at Arby's like morning breakfast shifts. And then going out at night and doing stand-up. And the people, and I didn't tell anyone at Arby's that I was doing comedy, but people would say...
But he told everyone in stand-up he worked at Arby's.
I did. That's a really good point. That's a great point. And, I never... and people at work would say, hey, you're pretty funny. Have you ever thought of going down to one of those I'm like, no, I never have. When I first started doing comedy, I had this thing. I had to separate people from one part of my life from that part of my life. Because I knew the people from that other part of my life could come see me, and there was a very good possibility I might completely eat it on stage when they came, and I just didn't want that to happen.
So it wasn't the self-esteem of they might embarrass me.
No, I embarrassed myself.
A bunch of Arby's windbreakers show up. Like, Frank.
Do the one about roast beef.
And then I remember one guy.
So tell him how you do the horsey sauce is like jizz thing, like you do at work.
I actually had that in my set list, and I eliminated that joke because I had too many of them.
Wait a minute. Yeah, there were several jizz jokes last night. The Arby's one didn't make the cut. Huh?
No, that's sacred to me. But one guy once from my halfway house came and saw me do stand-up, and I actually had a really good set. And then he was like, "Oh, Frank, that was great, man. Like, how much do you get paid for doing that?" And then I explained it. I don't get paid. I'm in it for the stage time, and hopefully it'll lead to some. And he completely lost all respect for me. And just walked away and didn't talk to me again.
Sounds about right. So last night I attended the show with a friend of mine, Zach, who he and I are. Part of our friendship is based on Mystery Science Theater. Like, we went to college together in the early to mid 90s, and that was
Frank and my friendship is despite Mystery.
Isn't that amazing, right?
Amazing.
And we all ended up in the same place here. So, like, in college, I know I've told you all this stuff before. We'd have a party on a Friday night, and then at my own place. But my buddy Zach and I and a few other guys would slip downstairs and start watching Mystery Science when it came on live on a Friday night, while a party was going on in my own house.
Wow.
That's really sad.
It is really sad.
And then they go, "Oh, it's a Josh episode," and go back up to the party.
Stop. Not true. So at one point, my friend Zach, we both left college. He joined the Army, and when he was over in the Middle East, and I don't know, it was like 95 or 96, he and I had attended, it was a Mystery Science convention in Minneapolis.
Right.
Well, we didn't go because we couldn't afford the tickets. We just went to the where they sold the merchandise. We went to the merch stand and bought it. We'd spent a few $100 or something. In any case, when he was in the Army, I sent him a postcard. And when it arrived, it was like the drill sergeant or whoever it is gets the bag of mail and reads off everybody's stuff. And he got a postcard and he said, Zach Mueller, looks like you got one from your uncle. And it was your face, Frank. It was a Mystery Science postcard with nothing but your face.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So you've had a long...
Frank.
Yes, so you've had a long connection between
That's great.
me and my buddy Zach. And
I've always
we got to come last night. It was just awesome.
I don't know if surprise is the word, but I've always through the years I've always met military people that really like Mystery Science Theater.
Interesting.
And wasn't there a story of didn't they play a cinematic Titanic?
They did, like in Saddam's Saddam's palaces.
Saddam's palaces. They watched.
Oh, after the
fall of Iraq.
They watched a cinematic Titanic.
Is there proof of that? That would be
on
incredible.
Saddam Hussein's system.
On his gold-plated system? That's fantastic. Drank his Coca-Colas.
Yeah.
Watching.
Mexican Cokes.
Well, yeah.
That's
He'd have the good ones.
That's the gold standard.
Absolutely. Frank, what's besides stand-up, what are you spending your time on right now? As far as entertainment, is it?
Wow.
I mean, there's the writers' strike, so we got
writers. Well, I've actually the writers' strike. I was just asked to head up the washed-up writers who haven't worked in 10 years committee. So I'm doing some work with them. But But actually, I've been doing a monthly digital movie riffing shows with Trace Beaulieu, and we tour. Before the pandemic, we toured the country as the Mads are back, Trace and myself, and that's been very successful as an online show. We do it every month, so I'm very lucky, very grateful. I'm able to get an income from that, and then I also have been writing and self-publishing books for the last 7 years, and
9 books.
9 books, yeah. And that's been like a very main focus, probably my main creative focus.
Okay.
And it's been great because I have a little bit of a readership, and they always enjoy them, and so I've just kind of wandered. It's funny listening to all the stuff that working writers who work in the business have to go through now. It sounds terrible, and I've managed to wander in to kind of a creative paradise where I'm just doing everything. Every joke that I write for the show with Trace is a joke I want it to be. Nobody tells me we can't do it.
Awesome.
My books are exactly what I want them to be. And I don't make the big money that the people that have to eat shit with those executives do, but it's really wonderful though.
Definitely something to be said for that. Is there anything in common in all of your books? Like, could you?
They're all really fucking stupid. I think is the thing.
Oh, that okay. Yeah,
well, they're all like
he
kind
takes
of
a big premise and commits to it.
Yes, I think hopefully artfully and well crafted. Just silliness, they're all pretty silly, and that's my goal, is just to write really funny stuff that people are entertained by and laugh, and that's the whole purpose.
You don't look at Frank and think whimsy, but it's in there.
So yeah, it's something I really enjoy doing.
Awesome.
I enjoy writing, which a lot of writers think disqualify me from being a writer, but I do enjoy it.
Interesting. Josh, you one of the most recent, maybe it was the most recent episode of Thought Spiral. You were talking about you were sort of reviewing some documentaries, and listening to you review documentaries is very interesting to me. Because of your expertise, I guess, and actually making some.
That's the right word.
So I love it. I think it's the perfect point of view. What I'm telling you is do that a lot.
I should.
And I will listen
would
to
let
it.
me.
Yeah.
He thinks of something, it reminds him of himself, and then we're done. But no, I mean, I love docs, and I love making them, and so anytime I watch one, because I've made them, I know every single problem that these doc makers are facing, and so I know that everything they do that I hate is a solution to a problem, and I chose a different solution.
See, that is
I would choose a different solution.
That is so interesting.
You know what whenever I put on one of the streaming channels and something new comes up, and I see documentary, I get very excited until I see a word that comes after it. Series.
Yes,
documentary series, and then I'm like, oh, okay, forget it.
Fuck. Here's 6 episodes to tell me 2 episodes worth of story.
Yeah, which is like all of them, and the most egregious one of all time was, and they've done a second season, which I didn't even watch, but they did a whole first season of the Nexium cult. The vagina tattooing cult run by the crazy whatever. Yeah. And it was just like it went on forever. It was just them driving to the airport half the time.
Yeah. It's one of my peeves is the story stretching.
Mm-hmm. Is there any chance you got one that you want to be doing next?
I do.
Your doc making's not done, right?
My doc making's not done. I just haven't found a business model that makes it my total go-to yet. Yeah. I've made 2 that I'm very proud of, and I think I like it as much as anything I've ever done doing it. Because of my ADHD, it's a great job for me because it changes constantly all the way through.
Yeah.
Like I get very bummed out by routine and repetition. So
tell me about
the job of directing a film is constantly changing throughout the process. So it really keeps me engaged the whole time, and I love it. And I love editing now. And I Need You to Kill, I edit it as well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I just have to find a business model. I have a project that's virtually ready to pitch once the strike is over, because it's going to need that kind of money to do it.
Oh, okay.
And it is a series, but it will not be repetitive.
Oh, I'm sure. You doing a series would be fine with me.
So I'm hoping. I mean, that's in a perfect world, I get to make more movies. But
how much stand-up do you want to do?
Not that much.
Not that much.
Not that much.
Yeah.
I had a great. I love coming here, but literally last night was my first set in a year.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last set was here. Did it come off that way, by the way?
No.
Did it play like I was a year off?
I mean, it seemed, it was a Wednesday. It was a first.
Yeah.
It seemed like a first night of a week.
All right.
So not a year, more like
that.
Yeah.
I can accept that.
I'm the one that brought notes up to the stage, you know.
Yeah.
That's not that uncommon these days. There's notes up here all the time.
You alternative kids made that okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Although I never did it when I did those alternative rooms.
Really?
And everyone was bringing notes. And they had NBC had a show called Late Friday, I think it was, for a while. That was and it was alternative comedy, and people would bring their notes for their TV set. I'm like, that's not right. I'm sorry. Yeah. Richard Lewis did it, but that's a different thing.
Yeah,
he did it.
He made a show of it.
Yeah,
he brought a scroll out on stage.
Yeah.
At one point. Yeah.
That's funny.
But I was never someone who brought a notebook on stage, which it was a cliche at that point to bring your note, at least in L.A. on alternative stages.
Yeah, there is an element of showcraft that is lost when you have them, just because even though everybody knows knows it's a conceit that we're speaking off the top of our head.
Right. He's just coming up with this on the spot.
But it's still that's still part of the magic trick still.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Sure.
So it does break a little bit of stuff, I've found. It breaks it more for me, though, than it does for the audience, I think.
Yeah.
I can see that.
If I feel dependent on it, then I get dependent on it, you know.
Did you guys are familiar with the comedian Gabriel Iglesias?
Yes.
Fluffy?
I don't know if I am. Like, maybe just barely.
He sold out like Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
So, interesting.
I keep up with popular comedians.
So I was on Facebook earlier today, and someone was trying to sell their tickets to go see Gabriel Iglesias. So I want to help him. No, I'm not trying to help him. He's coming to Minnesota. He's doing a show at some point in August, it looks like.
Where is he doing it?
At the casino, Treasure Island Casino.
Oh, sure.
So he's doing a show. This person is trying to sell their tickets, and I saw the price, and I thought, is that right? So then I clicked on the comments, and the very first comment, well, it says $250. They're trying to sell the pair of tickets for.
Okay.
$250. First comment is $125 a ticket for a comedian? Reply, that's correct. And then reply to that, pretty sure you're stuck with them. Then this is the really interesting part. Somebody gives a suggestion. Just call up your bank and say it was an unauthorized, minor, purchased, or accidental transaction. Most banks will reverse a handful of charges per year without asking questions. Thanks, I'll try that.
Nice.
Are you
great.
kidding me?
Yes.
Are you kidding me? What do you guys think about that?
Is that on a morality book? What is that? Which site was
I
that
know,
on?
right?
I was just having this. I had lunch with my brother today, and I was just having this discussion about how shamelessness has become a virtue now. Yes. Like, and that obviously Trump has a lot to do with boosting that thing, but people aspire to shamelessness now. People aspire to being an asshole now. Like it really
it came so easily to me. I didn't have to aspire to it.
Sure, but you didn't shake the shame either. Let's be honest. But I mean, and part of it is because people do feel so much fucking shame in their life that pose is so attractive to them.
Yeah.
I wish I could be that. But it's such an ugly, ugly thing when you see it in practice and it becoming the norm of the world, you know.
I mean, I would never. I mean, I'm not better than anybody else.
You're better than a few people.
I'm better than a few people. I'll agree with you there. But to try to get out of $250 tickets to go, oh no, that was an accident.
All right.
That is dirty. Yeah. And then I wonder, like, let's pretend that works, and the Visa's like, oh, well then do you still have the tickets in your possession? Like, is that a way to get?
I don't know. Now you're thinking like a criminal.
Because now, wait a minute.
You just switch from indignance to working the angle.
So I could do this a couple times a year and make some. This is a new side hustle.
I assume it voids the ticket.
I hope so. Because boy, that would be a dirty way to make a little side. Wow.
Try it out.
All right, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go buy some.
You might want to pick a different comic, that in case you have to go.
Yeah. You mean you don't think I want to pay $125 a piece to go see?
Probably not for Fluffy, but
probably not.
I met him. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, no, I've never seen. I'm sure he puts on a good show.
He came. I was opening for Segura somewhere, and he came and hung out.
What's the most either of you have paid to go see a show?
Oh God, I haven't paid to see a show in so
long, right?
It's like, it really it makes me feel like I'm some big shot in the industry or something. But I've never I just if I go to see someone in a club, it's I usually get in.
Yeah.
I don't I don't really like even if like a great comic is playing at Radio City Music Hall or something, I don't usually make the effort to go see them. I did go, and I once again bragging, got free tickets from Emo Phillips. He opened for
Weird Al.
Al at Carnegie Hall, and that got me out of the house. And that was an amazing show. I knew I was going to love Emo because I love him and he's the greatest.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised at how amazing Weird Al Yankovic was.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to have fun watching Weird Al. I didn't know I was going to see one of the most awesome rock shows ever.
His band is
Yeah.
crazy talented. Yeah.
And the song, and he didn't do his parodies. He did his own songs, and they were great.
Yep. I went to that show as well. Not at Radio City, and I
Weirdly
paid for my
weirdly
tickets.
enough, I think the last time I paid to see a comedian was with Emo. Emo called me up one day and said, "Hi, Josh, I'm going to go see Elaine Boozler. Do you want to come?" And we went and saw her at some weird room, sort of, but I did pay to get in. But I've paid. Other than that, literally, I cannot remember paying to see a comedian in my.
How about a rock show?
A rock show. I paid up real big to go see David Byrne with really good seats.
Probably worth it.
It was absolutely worth it. We really went one of the best nights I've had. And I paid up really big to see the original cast of Book of Mormon on Broadway when we were playing Broadway.
Yeah, I remember that.
When we were playing Broadway.
That's right. Yeah, you should repeat that. Yeah. Did everybody catch that? Brandon, you catch that in the back there? Yeah. That's fantastic.
I paid I paid $50 for a nosebleed seat to see the Carole King musical Beautiful on Broadway, and that was really good. But that was with a friend of mine, and we were we wanted to write our own kind of parody of that kind of jukebox show, so we were kind of researching it. But it was worth it, I thought.
Is my recollection correct that you once started writing a musical with Katy Perry?
Katy Perry and I, before she was famous, started working on a musical that, and progress on that was interrupted by what happened. Oh yeah, she became a gigantic international star, and nothing became of it.
You should hit her up and see if she has changed her mind.
I can't. I would text her every now and then. After that, never heard back from her, and I completely understand. But
how was that connection ever made? You and Katy Perry.
I had this friend of mine, Olana, in L.A. We went to see. She knew about Katy, and this was before her record came out. And we went to this place called the Hotel Cafe in L.A. And watched her do a show, and she was great. And I met her afterwards, and then I was just talking about this play I had written that it'd be great to have songs in it, and maybe I'll show you the script, and if you like it, and she read it and she liked it, but I had put some lyrics in it myself, and she was like, well, I really like your lyrics, so why don't you keep writing lyrics? I'll write music and add lyrics and stuff. So it was starting to form along those lines. It was could have been very promising.
Was she gonna maybe perform Convoluted Man? Is that possible?
She did. I did a show called Cartoon Dump at the time, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna come see Cartoon Dump," but she never did.
Wow.
Cartoon Dump was actually the birth of the Kindler-Weinstein partnership too. I played Dumpster Diver Dan in the LA edition of which was a puppet in a dumpster, and Kindler did a guest comedian spot, and I just stayed on stage as my sarcastic puppet and took shots at him.
Sarcastic puppet.
Yes.
Love it.
And that was the birth of the partnership, really. I mean, we knew each other and had done stuff together before then, but we had never really been on stage riffing before like that.
Well, thank you for that then, Frank, for getting those two together.
Well, thank
the
you
world's
for
a better
being
place.
Dumpster Diver Dan.
Thank Dumpster Diver Dan.
Amazing. thing.
Absolutely. So you mentioned on stage last night that there's a convention going on in in Minneapolis
There
this
is at the
weekend,
convention
right?
center. There is a Comic-Con.
What
right
a what
now.
a what an amazing coincidence that like you still or have done those in the past, right?
I've made appearances. Josh loved them, but anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know.
It's like being an animal in the worst fucking zoo in the world. It is just like, oh my god.
And then nobody brings you food either. No peanuts.
No, they just show their disappointment that it's me and consider if they actually want my autograph as they go to the next person.
There
in
was a
line.
guy. I think it was in Northern California, and we were at a convention. This guy just kept coming up to. Of all of us in the cinematic Titanic, Josh is the least into sci-fi even though he's kind of, he likes Star Wars or whatever, but
Come on, don't dismiss my nerddom quite that much. Oh, he likes Star Wars.
But this guy just kept coming up to Josh with these animation cells, and he was like, "What? I think those were originally done by Ward Kimball, but if you look at the sides, there may have been."
We've been
some
discussing
other,
it online, and we think that.
And what do you? Josh is very politely, I have no interest in this whatsoever.
I didn't say I have no interest. I said I don't know.
I don't know. I really. And then the guy would keep coming back to him with another animation cell. What about this? I think this might be a Robert McKimson one. No, I
Share your knowledge. Quit holding back. Come on. Wow.
Man, did I squirm at those fucking things. I just did. We got in trouble once at Dragon Con for giving away our autographs and not charging for them.
Yeah.
They scolded us very harshly. Like, you're going to make everyone else look bad.
Oh,
I'm like,
sure.
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah. It didn't. Well, that was back then when I was there with you. That was before I even knew about that autograph. Because when I first went to Dragon Con, I didn't even do that as a thing of sitting down and signing autographs. Then when I went, I realized there was money to be made from it. I got on board pretty quickly, and but my whole policy was, if you come up to me at my merch table in the celebrity room, I have to charge you for an autograph. If you happen to run into me in the hallway when I'm going to the bathroom, I'll give it to you for free. That was like, it was a complete, for me, a dividing line. Once you go into that room,
Right.
I'll charge you. But if you just come up to me while I'm walking around, it just feels like totally dickish to say, no, I'm sorry. So I'd rather just sign the autograph.
You weren't going to collect money in the bathroom?
For other
Not for
things.
that.
All right. That's a different business model.
Right. And rarely will he sign it.
Not when it. I can personalize it when it's erect, but otherwise.
Do you want me to sign all of it, or just? So we should mention that Mary Jo Pehl was part of the show last night
Yes,
as
indeed.
well.
It will be all week.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, she was great. Both of you were obviously great. So
I
it's
don't know. It didn't sound like I was. when I
Three,
asked him, did
stop it.
It sounded like he was more like you were. Yeah, you were pretty rusty,
you don't know who I
frankly.
pointed to when I said that.
It was a Wednesday show.
So 3 Mystery Science Riffer alums on one stage. I also saw in the audience last night another Mystery Science. Yvonne Fries, who did the current version, the newest version, was sitting a few seats behind me, and I recognize her from her job at the St. Paul Saints games as an usher-tainer, and I also went to the live show when it was here, and blah, blah, blah.
I think we'll have many other cast alumni coming into the audience this week.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Will we do the Vegas style? Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I think.
If only we had. Do we have a follow spot we could get for
Trace is coming.
Bill Corbett?
Bill Corbett. You know, me, Josh, and Joel are the only alumni that don't live in the Twin Cities. The Twin Cities is the Hollywood of riffing.
Yes.
You know. So,
Or Mecca. Let's go Mecca.
Okay, yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, you could come back. You can live here if you want.
You know what? I don't want to be too public about this, but I am considering moving back. Actually, it's not a real thing yet, but. I love living in New York, but I also live in Minneapolis. But I love living in New York, but I would like to maybe live someplace where I can maybe have savings,
Right.
and to do a nest egg maybe. New York is just so expensive. And my rent got raised last year to like a ridiculous amount, and then I was like, that's when I got the thought in my mind that maybe I would move back here.
It's time. I love it. You
Yeah.
should. You absolutely should.
I would move back here, but my wife would die. She would die the first December.
Cold.
Day.
The cold. Yeah. Because where's she from originally?
Well, she's from England, and then she was born in England, moved to India for a few years, back to England, came to America when she was like 8, and lived in like within 6 miles of where we live now.
Oh yeah, California. Yeah. The sun, where the sun shines year round.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, not gonna. She's not
Well,
gonna. She's not gonna get that here.
Might tip me is that I'm here in such an untypical weather week in Minnesota this week.
Right.
It's so nice out.
I've had my last few trips in, like when I did my album here, I think in 19, blizzard in April, blizzard my entire week. Last time I was here last year, we had a tornado the week of, which is like,
Is that right?
Yeah, which is I've been making jokes about with this room for 20 years because
Oh, the
it's like
fallout shelter.
the
Yeah.
safest fucking place to be in a tornado, and it finally happened. It was very exciting.
Oh, that would be a really good inducement to move into this neighborhood. Was that for a tornado you could just run to the Acme?
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's very, very safe, extra safe. Last thing I want to do with you guys, my buddy Zach had some leftover Mystery Science Theater 3000 trading cards.
Bernard Pivot's questionnaire from.
What is your favorite? So I'm gonna give each of you guys a pack of cards, and let's open them. How about
pack
that?
of Mystery Science Theater 3000 trading cards.
Yeah.
Wait, if we open them, don't want to bring the value down from $3 to $2.50.
Well, these were gifts, so I'm willing to risk it.
Okay.
So there you go. There's each a pack. These were from a few years ago, I believe, 2019. I
Were
think these
the
came
ones-
out.
Did we sign these? I think I signed.
There might be a signed one in there, absolutely. So these are official MST3K Series 2 trading cards and Frank is right on the cover of these TVs. Frank, can you, Brandon, can you see that right now? I'm holding it up. Yep, he's right on there. So there's 10 cards per pack. Josh, what do you got?
I got Trace and Frank.
I got Joe Pepitone.
I
Reference people.
I have this is Trace and Frank doing the William Conrad Fridge Alert.
Oh, that was a fun one. I have. I didn't even. Oh, this is me and Trace doing something goofy.
Trace and Frank. Here's Mike Nelson.
Mike in the box.
I got him his job there. That's right.
You did, and then Mike got me my job there.
That's right. There's Trace and Frank.
Oh, wow.
Here's me and Trace with Mike as Torgo, the beloved Torgo
Oh.
character from Manos the Hands of Fate.
This is
One of the
doing
best.
Here's me and Trace doing a Bless This Mess sketch. People, bring up sketches to me, and I have no memory of them,
Well, it was only, 28 years ago?
And this is some kind of prop thing. Unusual for Joel, I know, but
I know, that's weird.
and
What is your reaction? People come up to you like at one of these conventions.
So many Trace and Franks. It's really hurting me.
When people come up to one of the and they like bring up a memory of one of their favorite parts of the show, and you have no recollection of that.
I just tell them, I say I don't remember. I'm like you people know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
You're the experts, not me.
Yeah, none of these jokes were an event when we wrote them. We wrote hundreds per show and said them with equal, gave them equal mustard basically when we said them. So there's nothing, I mean, of course there's some jokes that you just like you're proud of for your whole life, but
Sure.
but they're few and far between.
On,
and they're rarely the ones that other people like.
Normally
that how it is?
I don't remember. Seriously, don't remember who wrote what joke. But when I was working on the show Totally Biased with W. Kamau Bell, which had an amazing staff of incredible writers. One of them, Guy Braunham. I don't know if you know him at all.
Yeah, I know who that is.
He really hilarious guy. And then one day, just out of the blue, he goes, "Did you write Canada's Anne Mera?" It's like some reference that was like not even meant to get like that I didn't think anyone would. But I said, yeah, that was like I totally remembered that I wrote it, and I was so happy that he had gotten pleasure out of it.
That's all. I love that.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think
random.
I mean, that's the magic of that show, though, is that
Yeah.
everybody gets their joke at some point
Yeah.
that makes them go, they know me.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And for the record, these are some my buddy pulled out last night. We got a whole bunch of Josh cards.
Thank
here.
you, tongue puppet. Hello.
We got Josh cards. We got this one. We got this with you. This giant brain.
Yes, that's my one 2 hours in the makeup chair story.
2 hours in the makeup
career,
chair. There's a ant farm.
Yes. Me. 17-year-old me.
Oh, and then you went and did a little bit of season 12 and 13.
I have done cameos on the last batches. Yeah, I did.
How fun was that?
Not that fun.
Not that fun?
No. I mean, it's not like it was nostalgic. It's like none of the same people, and it's like a huge crew. It's like a union show now, which is great. But, it reminded me of nothing.
Of nothing.
Of nothing, absolutely.
So they're like, welcome back. How does it feel? And you're like, no.
I mean, I wasn't a dick about it. I acted excited to be there and stuff. But the truth is that, no, it brought no, I mean, the other truth is that, I left Mystery Science Theater on bad terms.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good experience for me ultimately, and the friendships I've rebuilt over these years has made it worthwhile.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was my first thing, but I got totally fucked over on that show, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
And thankfully, sort of, the worm has turned around now so that I sort of get credit for what I did on the show. Not that I was bitter about not, but it's nice to, not be a footnote.
Absolutely.
But, the real legacy of it for me is Frank and I are hanging out 30 years later, and Trace
absolutely.
is, still my brother too. And,
Hell yeah.
If only
That's
I'd known
awesome.
when Josh was 15 what an amazing friend he would end up being.
Oh.
But he really has, and he's been shown real friendship to me through the years in bad times in my life and stuff. And I'm very, very grateful to have him as a friend.
This is the greatest moment we've ever shared on this podcast right now.
Is there anything that you guys have wanted
I
to?
love Frank.
Oh, that's like
I know it's weird to show emotion in the Midwest, but
I know. But that's how we had to get out.
Stop making me uncomfortable being nice to each other. Knock it off. That's fantastic. Is there anything that you've always wanted to ask him, or vice versa, or something you want to tell him, or
He just
for the ride? I mean, I guess that was it,
that
huh?
that
Yeah.
was heavy. Oof.
I also have to point out that by leaving the show when he did, one of the ultimate results of that was I've worked on one Peabody Award-winning show. Josh has worked on 2 Peabody Award-winning shows.
That's right, Freaks and Geeks as well. Which did it win a Peabody? I don't know.
It did.
Okay.
I
Yes.
keep
Yes.
on
2
that
of them. 2 of them.
More than you do.
My
but,
name wasn't on any of them, but
so he's had a very, I think when you left it sent you on a really good path of doing a lot of great work.
thank you. I mean, there's on some level, it's like I'm mostly kind of proud it didn't crush me
Yeah.
at the time. I was fucking young.
Right, yeah.
But
Can't even
I
imagine.
had apparently an unbelievable ego that could survive and decide, no, they're wrong. I'm great.
And you were right about that.
Yeah.
Your ego was speaking the truth.
I know
that was
some
my-
people
that
probably.
was my speaking the truth was kind of my problem at Mystery Science Theater too. That was really how I stopped making friends. I guess.
My first thing I said there was, "That's a great idea, Jim." So I did much better.
Yeah. You never said those words,
I
Josh.
did not.
You did not.
Just the once might have helped.
My experience as a Scott Hansen toady, came in handy later.
Yeah. Those were professional.
Josh has never been the toady type, but I have a history of it.
That's hilarious. This has been an absolute pleasure for me as a fan of.
Likewise.
Yeah. So thank you
Same
very
here,
much
yeah.
for doing this, and Frank, let's do it again. Maybe
love
when
to.
you're a resident. That'd
We'll
be
see.
fantastic.
You know what? It's very tentative right now. It's not saying it's going to happen. It might happen.
Good enough for me.
One more rent bump.
Yeah, there you go.
That's for sure, man.
There you go.
That's the absolute truth.
Thanks, guys.
They raised that rent. Well, I told her you're not raising it again.
And she went, ooh.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.